Good afternoon, guys. I have discussion C for you. Now, I'm going to explain in detail what the term involuntary hospitalization means, so everybody gets an understanding of that term for everybody's information. Okay, so give me a couple seconds to set up for the show, and I'll be right with you. Be right with you, folks. Okay. Meaning and intent of the heading. The question, can we do better than involuntary hospitalization, is a provocation, an invitation to rethink the dominant paradigm of psychiatric crisis response. It challenges the assumption that detaining individuals against their will in psychiatric facilities is the best or only way to ensure safety during mental health emergencies. Instead, it opens the door to exploring whether more humane, effective, and autonomy respecting alternatives exist. The phrase signals a shift from active contentment to proactive, person-centered care that prioritizes dignity, trust, and long-term recovery. What the surrounding page content is likely to explore: the scale and consequences of involuntary hospitalization. The text likely outlines how frequently involuntary holds are used, especially in the US, and the troubling outcomes. Associated with them, such as trauma, mistrust of the mental health system, and high rates of rehospitalization and incarceration, or suicide following discharge. Systematic shortcomings. It probably critiques the over reliance on emergency departments, police, and inpatient beds, highlighting how these settings often lack the time, training, or resources to provide meaningful care. Legal and ethical dilemmas. The content likely delves into the tension between protecting individuals from harm and upholding their civil liberties, especially as some jurisdictions consider expanding involuntary treatment powers. Arguments for reimagining crisis response. Voluntary person led care. The page likely advocates for crisis response that center the person in distress, offering choices, listening to their needs, and avoiding coercion whenever possible. Community based alternatives. It probably highlights models like peer led crisis centers, mobile response teams, and respite homes that provide safe, supportive environments without the trauma of forced hospitalization. Prevention and community. The argument may extend to upstream investments, likely housing, employment, support, and culturally responsive care that reduces the likelihood of crisis in the first place and support long-term stability. Diversion from carceral systems. The content likely critiques the criminalization of mental health illness and promotes pathways that steer people away from jails and into care. Innovation and policy shifts under discussion. Mobile crisis teams and co-responder models. These teams often composed of clinicians and peer specialists respond to crises in homes or public spaces, aiming to de-escalate without police involvement. Crisis stabilization units and respite centers. These offer short-term voluntary stays in home-like settings where people can rest, receive support, and avoid hospitalization. Advanced directives and supported decision making. Tools that allow individuals to express their treatment preferences in advance, ensuring their voice is honored even during periods of acute distress. Integrated care pathways, emphasis on seamless transitions from crisis to community-based services with robust follow-up and wraparound supports, equity, safety, and Implementation challenges, balancing autonomy and risk. The page likely acknowledges that some crises involve real safety concerns requiring clear protocols for triage and risk assessment, addressing disparities. It probably highlights how marginalized groups, especially Black, Indigenous, and low income individuals, are disproportionately subjected to involuntary holds, and how reforms must be equity driven. Building capacity. The shift away from hospitalization requires significant investment in workforce development, infrastructure, and data systems to ensure uh, quality, accountability, and sustainability. Cultural responsiveness. Effective alternatives must be tailored to the values, languages, and lived experience of diverse communities, including indigenous and rural populations. Broader implications and cultural shift. This heading doesn't just question a clinical practice, it uh, integrates a societal uh, stance on mental illness risk. And care. It suggests that we must move from a model of control and and containment to one of trust, partnership, and healing. It calls for a uh, reallocation of resources, a redefinition of safety, and a reimagining of what it means to support someone in crisis, not as a not as a threat to be managed, but as a person to be accompanied with compassion and respect. Short takeaway. We can do better than involuntary hospitalization is more than a re, ethical question. It's a call for action. It urges policymakers, clinicians, and communities to build layered, humane crisis response system that reduces coercion, honors autonomy, and delivers better outcomes. The surrounding content likely makes the case that not only can we do better, but we must, folks. For people that have um, you know, mental health crisis, that matters. Rather than shove them in psychiatric wards, let's do the humane things and get them the right supports to match what's going on with their crisis at the time. That works for people. If someone takes the time to realize how to restructure things, it works better for society. You know, as a uh, geriatric person who deals with elderly folks, those elderly folks at one time were young folks too, but they also their mental health situations don't change, just their age changes. So like people like me as a geriatric person, when they get older, they still have the mental health issue. It doesn't go away. You just have to learn the the right tools to help them go through the crisis they're going through and get through that in a personalized way. You know, treat them as a person, not as a not as a caged not as a caged mental health case. They have to be treated as people. You know, people with mental health issues are still people. You just have to work on their certain situation at the time, and a layer at a time. Which I mean, what I mean by that is when you have a person with multiple crises going on, you have to figure out or section off each 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 crisis that's going on with them. And you have to put, it's like having a big puzzle piece that somebody, that people need to put together. You know, some people have teams of support. Some people have different agencies that they have support from. So me as a person, like I said, they start younger. Me as a person, when they get to me as a elderly person, you still have to give them that kind of support. That does not go away. You know, it just makes it harder to figure out what kind of services they need. But you have to be able to do so, and you have to be able to have um, the right training to de-escalate the problem that's going on. You have to, when you do that, you have to treat them like human beings. So I did this show tonight for everybody's FYI and to get the information out for y'all. Hope this helps somebody. For now, Gator Wellness, take care, folks.